Good morning and welcome to HRTV live from Santa Anita Park. There's a live look at the backside, and we are out on the front side just outside of the winner circle. Scott Hazelton going to be joined by a very special guest, also alongside Joanne Jones in just a few seconds. We've got some live racing to get to over the course of the next couple hours as well, and we'll also be previewing the Gulfstream card as well as the Santa Anita card. But we'd now like to welcome in a very special guest once again, Karen Davis, the author of a spectacular book by the name of Santa Anita Morning Rhapsody. And Karen, welcome, and you did an excellent job with this book.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
First of all, the question that comes to mind, how did you get involved and what made you decide to do a book like this?
Well, the short version is that I was in a very stressful job in an office environment, which was causing me a lot of pain in my chest, and went to the doctor, and they foresaw death in my future. And I went home that night and thought, boy, life has a way of taking you away from what you're passionate about in exchange for health insurance and security. So I thought, what would I do if it was my last day on Earth? And I set my alarm and I came down here because I love horses and I wanted to see the sunrise. And after a little while, I started carrying my camera around and ended up taking about 3,000 photographs and thinking, they don't have a book and they really need one. And also people need to see what it's like here in the morning rather than just during the racing hours, because it's a whole different world. It's just beautiful.
That's something that we talk about all the time here on HRTV,
Yes.
especially when we're out here in the morning. We urge people to try to come out. I mean, the afternoon is great, and you get to see the live racing. It's beautiful, but, I mean, the true beauty, I think, is out when you're out here in the early morning.
It is amazing, and this is kind of where it all happens. The trainers are out here conditioning the horses for those races. So although you get to see the races, it's kind of nice to see what goes into that. There's a lot of preparation.
Now, when you say you foresaw death, or they foresaw death for you,
Yes.
obviously that didn't happen.
Oh, let me say
Thankfully,
that yes, it
didn't
was a
happen.
mistake.
Okay, so what made you go against what the doctor said? Did you seek out a second opinion, or did you say, this just doesn't seem right?
I finally did, but before I did that, I came down here and thought, that first morning I thought, this is where I'm going to be no matter what happens. You know, if I have to die here in the grandstand, this is where I'm going to do it. But yes, eventually, you know, not too long later, I did seek out a second opinion, and just, you know, in the hopes. And it was a mistake.
Stress can play a big part, can't it? I mean, you said you had a highly stressful kind of corporate job. What were you doing
terrible.
before?
I was a proposal manager, which is, you know, a deadline-driven kind of a thing. And I've never really been meant for offices. I have a more artistic temperament, so this is a better place for me.
And that stretches not only from your photography in a book. I understand you write music, you compose music.
That's
you're
correct.
An actress.
I sing.
Talk about
I've acted. Well, I did a lot of music theater. I do love to sing. I've sung since I was a child also. It's kind of hard, I guess, to combine horse racing and photography and music, but then I thought, no. I stood here one morning and heard the hoofbeats and thought, I bet there isn't a symphony about horses running down a track, and it's so rhythmic and beautiful that I dove in and started writing a symphony. So
Not too much of a stretch. There's that show Cavalli, the horses and music, so why not, right?
Correct. Why not combine everything you love? And, you know, you take risks and you make sacrifices. I'm not pulling in the big bucks anymore, but
you're happy.
It's a lot more fun being here.
You said you got 3,000 photos during the course of this this photo shoot, if you want to call it, elongated photo shoot. How long did you, or how often did you come out here to the track to get all these photos?
I was here every morning, 7 days a week, just like the horses and trainers, for 2 years to do this.
2 straight years.
Yes. Yeah.
How did you narrow it down? I mean, there's some great photos in this book.
That was tough. Very tough. I had originally found a publisher on the East Coast who toyed with the idea because it was kind of a West Coast pitched thing. And when I originally sent him photos, I think I sent him 250. The book has ended up with about 112. So when I had to narrow it down to 250, that was hard enough. But when I had to cut that in half again, very difficult. I don't know how to answer that. I mean, it was hard.
Let me ask you really quickly about access, because obviously if I decided, or if Joe on the street wanted to take photos, he couldn't get access to the backstretch of the racetrack. Maybe you started on the front side, met people. I mean, how did you get access to the barns and the horses?
I was
like
lucky
that?
enough to be sort of noticed sitting on the rail. My spot was sitting on one of those rails over there, and a
Clocker's
couple
Corner,
of
or?
no, about halfway between the winner's circle here and Clocker's Corner,
Okay.
sort of keeping to myself. And some trainers would notice me and go by and say hello. And finally, one went by on a pony repeatedly and said, you're here a lot. And I said, I love it. And he said, it is nice, isn't it? And, we passed the time. And finally he asked me, would you like to learn about the business? And I ended up on the backside learning about thoroughbred training. And while I did that, I took my camera with me. So I did get access and get a CHRB license.
So did you actually get a job back there, or you were just kind of under somebody's wing?
I was under his wing, and I did learn an immeasurable amount of information, which really helped me when I was taking the pictures. So I had the license and I did work, but I wasn't really committed to a schedule like a lot of people might be. I was lucky. I mean, I had the best of all possible worlds doing this.
Very interesting.
If you're just now joining us, we're joined by Karen Davis, author, if you want to call it that, photographer of the Morning Rhapsody, Santa Anita Morning Rhapsody, which is just an unbelievable book. And we've been showing some of these pictures, and I'd hope we get a chance to go through them once again so you can kind of explain some of them to us. But another thing that you had an opportunity to do was work with some Hall of Famers in Eddie
yes.
Delahousse and Richard Mandela, who were a part of this book. How was that working with those two guys?
I didn't exactly work with them. I think as I was here for 2 years every morning, people really just got to know me and got used to me hanging around. And, if a rainbow came out, they'd say, where's Karen and her camera? But I got on speaking terms with everyone, I guess. And when I came to think of doing this project, I thought I would really love to have people I've admired and worshipped for a long time to be a part of it. And so I thought, what better way than to get them to look at the pictures and ask them if they would mind writing a little intro or a little preface to the book. And they were so gracious and just so sweet about it. So that is really how they became a part of it.
Well, you certainly picked two guys who are out here and see it on a daily
Yes.
basis with Eddie Delahousse and Richard Mandela. Here's one of the pictures in your book, and I mean, that's just unbelievable. I mean,
Thank you.
Every single morning to come out here and to see this.
I had nothing to do with the sky.
Nothing to do with this guy.
But it certainly
it all
makes
worked
for
out.
a nice little accident to have the background of the mountains and the way it changes
There's
every day.
a great amount of luck to it, and of course, the way you want to compose it and fit the elements in, I'll take that much credit, but, really, the sky is just a wonderful thing out here. It's beautiful. Howard Zucker, one of the trainers here, said to me one morning that it was like a snowflake out here. Every morning was different, and I thought that was just a wonderful way of expressing it. And every morning is just absolutely amazing, different colors, and it's beautiful.
There is some text in here on occasion from time to time throughout your book. Where did that text come about?
I can't take credit for that either. That's Shakespeare. Originally, I was going to not have any text because when I started to explain the photos, horse running down track, it just took away from it for me. And one day I opened up a book that had belonged to my husband, who is my late husband, who loved the horses so much. And I was kind of having a conversation with him as I do occasionally, and I opened up his book of Shakespeare, and it opened up right to this magnificent horse quote. And I thought, I'm being sent a message here. And so I started looking for more of those, and they just lent themselves so beautifully. I didn't know Shakespeare had written so much wonderful stuff about horses. And they just went well with a lot of the photographs. So I incorporated them, and my publisher was happy about that, and it came out to be me and Shakespeare, this book.
Well, everything fits perfectly. I mean, the book just completely flows. I was looking at the book earlier today. One of the pages, or a couple of pages that really I liked a lot was the page in which you had all the different animals on the backside. You had the bunnies, the goats, the dogs, and just the different type of wildlife, if you want to call it, that's on the backside.
It's a lovely and unusual place. There are animals running all around, and that bunny picture was a little teeny baby bunny who had just been born under a barn, and he peeked his little self out, and I took that from across the road because I didn't want to scare him, and the minute I did, he ran away, so I was lucky to get that, and there are dogs and goats and
There's
it's
all kinds
cool.
of
It's
stuff.
like a barnyard.
Chickens running
Yeah.
around. How can
Geese.
the fans out there get in contact with you if they'd like to buy the book? Do you have a website, a phone number?
I have a website, www.karensdavis.com.
And you can purchase the book.
All
there?
You
lowercase?
can purchase the book there. It's
Okay.
not case sensitive. So
Karen S. is in Sam Davis.
yes.
Okay.
S is in Susan.
Okay. Yes.
You got a busy weekend coming up too.
I
Tell us
do.
what you've got going on around
I
the
do.
Arcadia area.
The city of Arcadia has been kind enough to recognize this book, and they are exhibiting the photographs from it at the Historical Museum right across the street from the racetrack on Huntington. And it'll be up for 3 months, all during the winter meet. But this Saturday, the 13th, they are having an artist reception for me so that I can meet and greet the public and sign books. And there'll be T-shirts with my favorite photo from that book on them too, so I can sign T-shirts if they like and be like a sports person, signing your shirt and the back of you. And
Well, that's great. And what is your favorite photo? Just to give it away, just description.
it's the one of the loose racehorse running directly at me. That's on a slant.
I saw that one
I
right
just,
here. Yeah.
I felt so fortunate to have taken that. I thought this is like a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and I've kind of adopted that as my logo. It's on my business card, and I use it a lot, and it's on the T-shirts I made. He was quite a horse. I don't know who people say. Do you know who that horse was? But the object of this book is really generic. It's to sing the praises of everybody that comes down here 365 days of the year to
No
do
question.
this. And it's not about famous horses. So if you're expecting to see a whole book of famous horses, that's not what it's about. It's about these people that spend their lives doing this. And
Thank you for not making it about famous horses, because you know what? For the general public, a horse is a horse. I mean, sure,
Right.
Barbaro captures the imagination not because of what he looks like, but because of other things, and that's what
Yeah.
you capture in the book, the other elements that go into it and that make it so beautiful.
well, it's like people. We're all people. Some of us are famous, but we all go through the same things. We all go through emotions. We all go through all of the cares of life and all of the joys, and it's the same down here. And a horse is a horse, and a trainer's a trainer, and in the end, we all have a common bond, and that's really what this is about.
Well, Karen, thanks again for taking the time. I got one last question for you before we would let you go. You did an unbelievable job with
Thank you.
Santa Anita. Is there any follow-up plan to maybe go to other racetracks, Saratoga, any other places throughout the country for like a follow-up book?
Oh, I have all sorts of schemes and dreams. I mean, I'd like to go around the world and do like Italian racetracks, or I'm not sure exactly what the next project is going to be. I don't know that I should reveal it if I did,
Okay.
but I wouldn't mind having other racetracks see this and say to me, we would love you to do something like this. I would love to.
Imagine
Go
2 years at all these exotic locations.
There you go, yeah. Yeah, invitations are welcome. I'll come out to Keeneland or wherever.
There you go. If anybody's watching, send her an invitation. KarenSDavis.com is where you can pick up this book. Thanks again, Karen. I mean,
Thank
a
you.
great book. You really put what we describe in words to the people out there in a book on a daily. We try to describe it to them, but the pictures, they really
I hope
provide
so.
justice
Yeah,
for it.
I hope so.
Karen S. Davis joining us, Santa Anita Morning Rhapsody, the name of the book. We're going to leave you with some of the great images involved in this book. We're going to take a quick time out. When we get back, we're going to get to some live racing. Also going to dive into the handicapping between Gulfstream and Santa Anita Park, so stay tuned.